Hey guys, I'm Sage Valentine and I'm back here to review another episode of AMC's Fear the Walking Dead Season 4 episode number 6 entitled Just In Case. So picture this. I'm watching Westworld. I finished it like 5 minutes earlier because I have the HBO Now app on my phone. Janet Jackson is performing on the Billboard Music Awards. I have that on my TV. So I switch over to AMC on my phone. Janet's still performing, still kicking butt and taking names, showing these girls how to do it, 52, 50 something or not. And to make a long story short, I turn on AMC. It's like 4-5 minutes till Into the Badlands. I'm barely paying attention to the phone, but something says, look at the phone and see what's going on. All of a sudden, I see Alicia turn her gun in the direction of someone. I didn't even realize who it was at the time. And the next thing you know, I see John jump in front of that person and get shot in the chest. When I say I fell out, I completely fell out. I was like, oh no, and ran out the room like, holy crap, no. They cannot kill John. And I did watch the end of Fear the Walking Dead's Talking Dead segment, and the impression that I got was that we don't know if John Donnie is dead or not. I really hope that he's not, because he is one of my faves. You know this if you've been watching my reviews. If not, John Donnie is my fave out of the new characters. He's such an awesome guy. All he wants is a friend, and I'm so bummed that he got shot. But after seeing that, that's when I knew that episode 6 was a trip, and it definitely was. I really liked how it opened up and how we saw that scene of that lone vulture basically taking everything but the kitchen sink out of that gas station convenience store. And when he comes out after taking the bell and putting it on his little cart, he comes across John Donnie and Morgan. John Donnie, he's such a good man. I don't blame him for shooting that dude's finger off. It was what it was. That guy refused to speak to him and refused to answer John's question about Laura, or as we know her, Naomi. We learn later that Al is not about to use the guns on her truck to help Strand, Lucy, and Alicia in their fight against the Vultures. She just wants to hear their story. This is not her fight. I don't blame her for staying out of this. But essentially, she's going to get dragged into it for even being there. Or maybe not. But somehow, some way, I think she knows these Vultures, and that's going to come out. I like Al as a character, but I feel like there's something she's not telling us. So John did not come to play with this vulture dude. He grabbed that dude's map. He's a bit out of control with his grief, because don't forget, he was just told a couple hours prior that Naomi, or Laura as he knows her, is dead. And he's just out of it. All of a sudden, Morgan basically tells the dude to go and don't meet up at your meeting place or something. And all of a sudden, the fingerless dude kind of takes off running. John apologizes to Morgan and hands him his gun, just like, dude, I can't use this. I can't be trusted with this. All John wants to know is what happened to Laura. Heck, us fans want to know what happened to Laura/Naomi. Madison is just so, when we get to the before segment, she's so cheery and happy and positive about feeding the people at the stadium a couple of canned hams, even though the people were not happy because their rations are probably really, really small. Strand asked Madison why did he save her, and she said because she was not going to let him drown, and basically that he is her drinking buddy. So Naomi, no surprise, is caught heading out for seeds and fertilizer and military rations at a place where she used to be. But essentially, it looks like she's trying to run. And I'm just like, that's all Naomi does is run. That's all she does. Or at least that's what I said at that point. Madison, Strand, and Naomi decide to head out together to find the place where Naomi used to be so they could get these supplies. Meanwhile, Nick, Lucy, and Alicia are left in charge. It's so hard seeing Nick alive after seeing him die in the present. It's going to take a lot to get used to because I'm still not over his death. So Madison, Strand, and Naomi decide to park at a motel and rest for the night. They clear the place. They get their stuff. They're basically about to rest, and they're kind of sitting down. And I believe it was Naomi who realized whoever was at this motel was killed over some baked beans, like a couple of crappy cans. Madison and Strand start reminiscing about the bar that they drank at, and I believe that was that season 2, season 3? But anyway, apparently the place where Naomi was an abandoned FEMA shelter. And she reveals that she was going to leave and head to the shelter, but leave a map behind for Madison's group to follow her there. Strand called her a coward and made her give up her car keys. I know it's kind of weird to see Strand calling somebody a coward or calling someone anything, knowing the things that Strand has done. But remember, Strand has done things to survive, and at this point in the episode, we don't know why Naomi is doing what she's doing and why she's in such a rush to get to this FEMA place. Anyway, Madison wakes up, and apparently Naomi left. Again, all Naomi does is run, or at least that's what I thought, essentially. So Naomi is headed to the FEMA shelter alone. Inside, there's this huge walker herd. Strand is trying to tell Madison, after they realize that Naomi's gone, that people don't change, and then he starts telling her about his contingency plan. Now, you would think that Madison would be upset with him, but then I realized at this point, Madison's very positive, number one, and number two, Madison really likes Strand, and this group needs Strand. Really, that's the only reason why Strand is still alive and still with them, because Strand might be foolish, he might do a few shady things, but he does them to survive, and he's not doing them to double-cross people like we essentially thought that he was. So Naomi walks through the shelter, and I'm shuddering because you realize that there were children at this shelter at one point. Naomi unlocks this lockbox and finds a notebook with notes about sutures, plants, and turnips. She locates some keys that have the letters JIC on them. Then she tiptoes past the herds, finds a couple of dead bodies on the floor, and then she spies this room with like kids' pictures on the doors. And there's like some brownish dry blood, and she kind of falls back because she's freaked out about it. I don't know if it reminds her of something. At this time, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, what does this remind her of? Like, what happened? Were kids killed in there? Either way, when she falls, she hits something, and the herd just turns around, and they're just like, ooh, lunch. And they start heading towards her. So then she's running. She comes across more walkers. She climbs the scaffolding, and as she's climbing, I'm like freaked out. Like, is she going to make it up there? Because, honey, as she keeps climbing, they're grabbing her ankles. I'm like, just let her make it to the top. That scene was tough to watch. And Naomi looks down at the walkers and she says, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. And my rationale at this point, or what I was thinking, was that she had something to do with what happened to these walkers, these people, by leaving them, or she feels really guilty about something. And the question is, what does she feel guilty about? So I believe we go off and there's a commercial, and then it comes back. It does not look good for Naomi, and then here come Madison and Strand to save her. Naomi at first is about to give up. She says that Strand was right. Strand decides to make an attempt, a very brave attempt to save her. I believe he finds some type of cord or rope and he throws it across because he's at some type of thing across from her. And it might be another scaffolding or something. And he holds the rope up so she can crawl like this across. Like, I think her belly is like facing the ceiling. And at one point it seemed like she was about to fall. I think 2 characters had to do that in The Walking Dead, but the one that really like comes to mind is Spencer, when Spencer did that, and I believe that was season 7, possibly season 6 at the end, one of the 2, but either way, it was just as stressful to watch Naomi do it, to climb, as it was to watch Spencer, despite the fact that I'm not a big fan of Spencer. So all of a sudden, Naomi makes it, she's safe. And then Naomi, Madison, and Strand escape, and they chain the door to the FEMA shelter, and they're in like the little alcove thing outside while the walkers are still kind of pushing against the doors. Naomi revealed that the reason why she came to the FEMA shelter, or you could also say the reason why she's been running, quote unquote, all this time, is because she felt she needed to make up for what she did. And she thought that we, meaning she and her daughter Rose, could be safe. And here's the story of what happened to Naomi's daughter. Naomi lost her husband when everything went down as far as the zombie apocalypse is concerned. Okay. She and Rose arrived to the FEMA shelter and they stayed there, and Naomi came across this woman, Ellen, who taught a class called Just in Case, where she taught her all this stuff and how to survive and everything. So one day, Rose woke up with a cough, and it appeared that she had pneumonia. So Naomi went out on her own to find antibiotics to treat this pneumonia that Rose had. But the thing was, she never told anybody that Rose was sick, because Naomi realized once these people figured that out, they would more than likely put them out, or they would try to put Rose down, and Naomi couldn't handle that. So the first night that Naomi was gone and Rose was sick, Rose died, and then she turned. And after that, I guess somebody came to see who was locked in the room, because I don't know if I mentioned, I probably didn't, that Naomi locked Rose in a room. And to make a long story short, someone must have looked in on Rose, got bit, turned, another person got bit, turned, and the cycle just continued. So Naomi is carrying a whole bunch of grief on her back. And now we realize that she was not running as in trying to escape with stuff and leave the group behind. She was trying to head to the FEMA shelter so that she could help them. And unfortunately, as we learned in this episode, she didn't make it in time, and everybody inside of that shelter had turned. So really, she was trying to make amends, not run away. Strand told Naomi that what she did, she basically had to do, and that's something that he had to do as well. But Madison showed him that they could start over. So Madison, Strand, and Naomi returned to the stadium with a truck with a whole bunch of supplies that they found at the FEMA shelter, including, I believe it was grain and medical supplies and such. And then the hipster vulture dude, whose name escapes me at the moment, he told her to be careful or something like that. And the next thing you know, the vultures are bouncing. Today was a bit of a win, but I'm wondering, how long are the vultures going to be gone, and where are they heading? So Madison gave Alicia the JIC keys. And if I remember correctly, she said something like, keep them safe, or you may need them if things go down, you know where to go get the truck, or something to that effect. But either way, she gave Alicia those keys for safekeeping. John and Morgan arrive at the present, at the meeting point, the Vultures meeting point, where Alicia, Strand, Al, and Lucy are. All of a sudden, those three, Alicia, Strand, and Lucy, turn their guns on Morgan and John. And I'm like, hey, what the heck? Like, what's going on? And things are a little bit shady with this situation. So Morgan and John are forced to kneel down, and they kneel. And Morgan tells them that the Vultures aren't coming. He told them to stay away, and he basically said that what you all are doing in trying to kill these Vultures is only going to make things worse. And these people, Alicia, Strand, and Lucy, and Al, are probably looking at Morgan like, does he even know what he's talking about? Yeah, he knows, because of what he went through before this, a la the Saviors. And as we know, as watchers of Walking Dead, the Saviors basically were taken down a notch, but these Vultures appear to be worse than the Saviors, and I didn't think anything could be worse than the Saviors. And I'm talking about the TV show, not the comic book, because I know all about the Commonwealth, and I'm waiting for that new issue to come out, because I really believe it's about to go down. So all of a sudden, the Vultures pull up, and Alicia and hipster Vulture dude with the alt-right haircut are exchanging some pleasantries and basically talking junk to one another. Then the next thing you know, there's SUVs pulling up, and I'm like, well, who's in this SUV? For some reason, I'm thinking it's the little girl that killed Charlie, who killed Nick. Never dawned on me who it would be, and then we see a shoe. And I think it was like a gray sneaker with either red or pink laces, something like that. And I'm like, well, whose shoe is that? And then the camera kind of pans up, and it is none other than Naomi. So the story about Naomi being dead is not true. All of a sudden, Alicia screams out, no, and then she fires a shot. And the shot hits John Donnie, and I am just out of it at this point. I'm like, holy crap, she shot John. I'm just done by the end of this episode. But the question that I have in regards to Alicia saying no, or yelling out no, was what was that about? And does that mean that Naomi's existence means that Madison is dead, or that the Vultures still have Madison, or something like that? Like, there's something shady going on with that situation and Alicia's reaction. But that's about it as far as this review is concerned. You all take care. I'm Sage Valentine, and I will be back in 2 weeks to do the review of episode 7. And probably 8, because you know how AMC is. Sometimes they like to combine the 2 episodes together for the mid-season finale, so we'll see how it goes. But either way, I'm ready for this finale. I'm ready to find out what happened to Madison, to Salazar, to Troy. I am so ready. It's not even funny. But you all take care, and see you back in 2 weeks. Bye, guys. Love you all. Bye.